For this Level 9 examination question, the video gives more detail than is needed for the full marks, but it does give credit to alternative methods. Press pause to try it or continue for the solution. The easiest way to consider the probability of 3 or more dry days over 4 days is by using sequences. Attempting a tree diagram is not advised, as one of this size is complicated to draw freehand and frequently leads to errors. It is only used briefly in the video to help explain the method. Here the combinations of 3 or more dry days are shown for the 4 consecutive days. If the probability of rain is 0.2, then the probability of a dry day is 1 minus 0.2, which is 0.8, since there are no other outcomes other than wet and dry. So the probability of a dry day is 0.8, and multiplying gives 0.8 to the power of 4. 3 dry days and 1 wet day is 0.8 to the power of 3 times 0.2. And if the third day only is wet, we get the same result. And if the second day is wet and the first day is wet, the same result again. Adding the probabilities gives 0.8 to the power of 4 plus 4 times 0.8 cubed times 0.2, which is 0.4096 plus 4 times 0.1024. Working out the multiplication and adding gives 0.8192, or 0.8 to 1 decimal place as required. To answer part B, you might realise that there are other outcomes other than those mentioned, such as 2 wet and 2 dry days. You assume that JJ is not correct, but if you do not support this statement, you will get no marks for part B. The simplest approach is to work out the probability for 3 or more wet days. So start by writing out the sequences for these events. Then work out the probability. 4 days of rain is 0.2 to the power of 4, and 3 days of rain with 1 dry day is 0.2 cubed times 0.8. Adding the probabilities to obtain 0.2 to the power of 4 plus 4 times 0.2 cubed times 0.8. Evaluating the powers and then multiplying. Finally, adding to obtain 0.0272, or 0.0 to 1 decimal place. You could stop here, since you now have supporting evidence, but you may not be sure you have completed the problem correctly, since the probabilities of all the possible outcomes must add to 1. There are more possible outcomes. You might have considered 2 wet and 2 dry days as your supporting evidence, so we list these as an alternative or additional approach. Calculating the probabilities for each outcome and adding gives 6 times 0.8 squared times 0.2 squared. Evaluating gives 0.1536, which is 0.2 to 1 decimal place. Accuracy is vital to earning full marks. It is now possible to check the calculations by adding the probabilities. Adding to either 1, 2, 3 or 4 decimal places results in 1, provided the probabilities are rounded up correctly. So we can now say with confidence that the probability of 3 or more wet days is less than 0.2, so JJ is certainly not correct. We hope you found this video useful.